Hey, welcome back to Exits Media. My name is Praying for Exits, and today we're going to talk about investing, how to invest, what are some of the best strategies that I would say as somebody who's been investing in technology companies for the last 8 years, different ways to think about strategy and how to use your money in a useful way to not only help grow really interesting companies, but also secure a financial future for yourself. So grab a pen, take some notes, and let's get started. The first thing that you should think about when investing is finding something that you are really, really good and passionate about. Most people will tell you diversity is probably a great way to invest, and if you are looking for average returns, that is probably the correct thing to do. My own personal opinion is that the safety of diversity is kind of a safety blanket and not much more than that. If you really want to grow your money and have an outsized impact on your financial future, the best thing that you can do is find one really specific thing that you are passionate or good about. So maybe you know a ton about social media, maybe you know a ton about online e-commerce, maybe you know a ton about oil and gas. There's a bunch of different sectors in which you can invest in, but finding a sector that you're really, really passionate about is the best thing that you can do, especially if you're young. Diversity is something that is probably better suited for older people, like my parents. What a financial advisor might tell you is do a portfolio of 80% stocks and 20% bonds, and those 80% stocks should be ETFs, etc. But if you're young, what you have on your side is time and the fact that you probably don't have a ton of responsibility yet. You don't have a family you need to take care of, you don't have young kids that need food. So what you should be doing is spending a bunch of your time putting basically all of your chips into the things that you know the best and making sure that you have a very good sense of what you're doing in that regards. And if you want to diversify, there's a bunch of things that you can diversify into that still present a great risk-reward ratio. Perhaps that's doing a little bit of startup investing, perhaps that's doing a little bit of crypto investing. Many of these things will provide probably a larger return than just a typical risk-adjusted portfolio, but you have to understand that there is a much higher chance of things blowing up as well. And so what you need to do is make sure that you have an adequate amount of risk, but not so much risk that'll ruin your life. After you found a niche, the best thing that you can possibly do next is find different ways to express that niche, right? For example, let's say your niche is finance and you care a lot about finance. There's a bunch of different things that you can do to basically express your ideas around finance and potentially make money off of it. A good example of this is, let's say that you think that the banking system, for instance, is something that's old and outdated and that over time less people will care about than they do today. One way that you can express that as an investment or even a trade is maybe going long Bitcoin, where you're able to capture the opposite of what is considered publicly accepted or widely accepted by the public and basically make a trade against that. You might see some normal level of return if you were to invest in a bunch of bank stocks, and over time that return might get compressed more and more and more as less people find that interesting. But if you were to invest in, say, early stage financial firms or Bitcoin or any of these different ways to express your ideas, there's potentially a better chance that you could see a higher upside on that, but also you have to be cognizant that the risk is probably much higher as well. And this is really how you become an expert at specific categories. It's really putting your money where your mouth is and making sure that, you know, the things that you deeply believe in, you also have some sort of financial backing behind. My third portfolio strategy would be really paying attention to how things change, especially against your ideas that you're betting on. The worst thing that you can do in being an investor with a very strong idea is being passive around that idea and just saying, oh, well, if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. There's probably multiple moments where it's going to be working better and multiple moments where it's going to be working worse, and you have to understand what those moments are and how your specific finances are affected by that in such a way that you are making sure that you're not spending too long in a specific trade or you're not spending too long in a specific investment when it looks like the world is not necessarily agreeing with what you have to say. And so there's this classic songs, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. You probably have to think about that consistently, especially when you're being an active investor, and making sure that when the timing looks right, you continue to double and triple and quadruple down on your ideas, and when the timing looks wrong, you have to be very honest with yourself and realize, like, hey, I may have not been correct about this, and cut your losses as quickly as possible and find the next great idea that you have to hopefully not only recoup some of those, but make more money on top of that. And just to recap, the three things that I would recommend is to find a niche of something that you're really interested in and that you're willing to spend a ton of time learning about. The second is figuring out the best way to express that interest and niche and find different instruments, whether they be crypto or whether that be public investing or private investing, to really capture that idea in the best way possible. And then the third is being vigilant about how you spend your time on each of these ideas and making sure that when things are working well, you know to keep pouring gasoline on the fire, and when things stop working or when things aren't working, making sure that you're very quick to realize that and be honest with yourself and cut your losses. These are my top 3 investment strategies that can put you on the right path to not only A, investing in things that you really care about, but B, hopefully making a lot of money off the back of that in a way that makes sense for you and your financial future. So if you found this video helpful, please feel free to check out some of the other videos on our channel where we we dive into investing, entrepreneurship, teaching you the best ways to build and invest in companies, and make sure to always keep learning. Until next time, happy investing.